All right, today we are diving into one of the most amazing logistical systems in the entire universe, and it's happening inside you right now. We're talking about how the tiny cells that make up your body run their own import and export business, moving massive packages around to keep you alive.
It's a pretty basic question, right? But really, think about it for a second. A cell is this tiny, microscopic world. It can't just, open a door to let things in or kick things out. So how on earth does it get vital nutrients, get rid of all its waste, or send out huge messages like hormones? Okay, let's get into it.
So, the whole challenge really starts with the cell's basic design. It has this major security feature that, well, also creates a huge logistical problem.
See, that membrane is an amazing barrier. It's a wall that protects everything inside the cell from the chaos of the outside world. But it's also a super strict gatekeeper. Sure, little tiny molecules can sneak through special channels, but what about the big stuff? I mean, we're talking about whole bacteria, giant proteins, or bundles of hormones. There's no way they're just going to pass through. The cell needs a totally different system for this kind of bulk transport.
So, let's start with the import process. When a cell needs to bring something big inside, it uses this incredibly clever method called endocytosis.
Honestly, the best way to picture this is cell swallowing. That's literally what it is. The membrane doesn't tear open, instead it wraps itself around the target, folds inward, and then pinches off to create this little self-contained bubble, a vesicle, that's now inside the cell. And as you can imagine, a move this big takes a serious burst of energy to pull off.
Now, what's so cool is that the cell has different swallowing techniques depending on what it's trying to bring in. For big, solid things like a germ or a piece of food, it uses phagocytosis, which means cell eating. It literally reaches out with these membrane arms to grab it. For just taking sips of the surrounding fluid, it uses pinocytosis, or cell drinking. But for grabbing very specific, high-value targets, it uses a way more sophisticated method.
And this is where it gets really smart. This isn't just random gulping. This is like a surgical strike. You have these receptors on the cell's surface that are like tiny, perfectly shaped locks. Only a specific molecule, like cholesterol, can fit as the key. As soon as enough of these targets are caught, the receptors all cluster together, the membrane sinks in, and pop! A vesicle forms with only the cargo the cell wanted. It is ridiculously efficient.
Okay, so that's how things get in. But any successful business has to export, right? So how does a cell ship its own packages out? Well, it turns out the process is pretty much a perfect mirror image of how things get in. And this whole process is called exocytosis. This is the cell's export system. It's how your nerve cells talk to each other, how your glands secrete hormones, and how cells just get rid of their trash. So, if endocytosis is cell swallowing, you can probably guess that exocytosis is basically cell spitting. A vesicle packed with cargo travels from deep inside the cell all the way to the edge. Then it fuses with the outer membrane and just opens up, dumping all of its contents into the outside world.
And of course, this isn't just chaos. The cargo is carefully sorted, packaged, and addressed inside the cell's own internal post office, an organelle called the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi is what creates these vesicles and sends them on their way. And just like a real shipping company, cells have different delivery options. There are two main styles. You've got constitutive exocytosis, which is like the slow and steady, always-on mail service. It's constantly releasing materials needed to build and maintain the world around the cell. But then you have regulated exocytosis. This is the express, on-demand delivery. It waits for a very specific signal, like, say, a spike in your blood sugar, to trigger a massive, rapid release of its cargo, like insulin.
Okay, and this is where it all clicks into place. Endocytosis and exocytosis, they aren't two separate stories. They're actually two halves of one single, really elegant system.
So the whole key here is balance. Think about it. Every time endocytosis happens, the cell literally loses a piece of its surface to make that vesicle. And every time exocytosis happens, a vesicle fuses with the membrane, adding its material right back. It's this constant give and take that makes sure the cell doesn't shrink away to nothing or expand until it pops. It's the perfect way to move goods while keeping everything stable.
Now, I know this might all sound like some tiny, abstract mechanism, but this import-export system is absolutely fundamental to your health. It's how your body works, every single second of every day.
I mean, really think about it. An immune cell swallowing a bacterium, that's phagocytosis. Your brain firing off a thought,
That's exocytosis releasing neurotransmitters. Your pancreas keeping your blood sugar in check, that's exocytosis of insulin. This isn't just some abstract concept from a biology book. This is literally physiology in action.
And because the system is so critical, you can imagine that even a tiny little glitch in the machinery can have a huge impact on a person's health.
A classic example of this is a genetic disorder called familial hypercholesterolemia. Basically, people with this have faulty receptors for cholesterol. Remember that super-targeted receptor-mediated endocytosis we talked about? Well, their cells just can't grab and pull cholesterol out of the bloodstream the way they should. And the result is dangerously high cholesterol, all because the cell's import system for it is broken.
And that brings us to one last really fascinating thought. We know that viruses are absolute masters at hijacking endocytosis to sneak inside our cells. So that's led scientists to ask a really powerful question. If a virus can use this system for harm, could we learn to use it for good? Could we design tiny nanoparticles that our cells would willingly eat, delivering life-saving drugs directly to a diseased cell and absolutely nowhere else? It's amazing to think that the cell's ancient import-export system might just hold the key to the future of medicine.